Hi, everyone. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. I'm Carol Williams, and I'm joined by my colleague, David Fields. Welcome, David.
Hey, Carol. Good to see you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it is after 12 o'clock. And good afternoon to everyone who is joining us. For those of you who are new here, the format is very simple. You ask questions, we give you answers. So please let us know that you're here. Sometimes it takes a minute or two for the comments to show up, but we do want to know who is joining us. So post your questions in the chat.
And good morning, Tom. And good morning, John. And Jaron, was anything posed in advance? Do we have anything in the magic bag? Here, I'll read. You get it, Carol.
Okay.
Okay, Alexis. We know Alexis. If you have a verbal yes from a client, but no signed SOW yet, okay, so verbal yes, no proposed, no signed agreement, is it okay to bring on a contractor and start paying them? Or does that expose you if the deal falls through? And hi, Katrin. Well, what do you think? Verbal yes, no signature, start paying subs or not?
It is a really great question because that's the worst thing for a consulting firm is to be on the hook for paying your people and you don't have a deal. So there are some middle ground ways that you can go around doing this. And of course, David, feel free to jump in on any of this. But talk with your contractor or your team. Be transparent about the state of the deal that you have verbal, but nothing signed, and ask them if they are willing to take a little risk with you. There are some things around prep and getting ready for an engagement that you can go ahead and start, such as doing internal conversations around, hey, we have this engagement. Here's what we need to do. Maybe your project manager can start working on your timeline, gathering documents, all of those good things. People can start doing some research, basic research on the company, but just recognize that they're doing this work without the signed document, which means they may not get paid for it if the signed agreement doesn't come through. Now, the way that I have seen it done in the past is that for the contractor SOW that you have language in there that says, if this work is related to a client engagement and there is no signed deal, you're not going to get paid for any work that you do. And that way they know that they're taking on risk with you. So, David, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I like that you've transferred the risk if contractors are willing to do that. And so I agree with you. You don't want to get in a squeeze. That is a bad place for you as a consulting firm owner, is to have a contract on the payment side without a reciprocal or I suppose the commensurate contract on the receiving side. So yeah, I would not contract the providers of subs before I had a signed piece of work. But I like what you did, which I think is smarter, Carol, which is to say, if you're willing to work on spec a little bit, it's probably best for all of us. It'll help us close the deal. And yeah, just as long as everybody's aware, you just don't want to get squeezed. So yeah, I agree with
Correct.
that.
It also helps you be ready when you do have the signed agreement. You can jump on it and start the work immediately without
Yeah.
having to wait to do that work once you have the signed agreement.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. And hi, Todd. And Tom's got a question. You want to read the question, and whatever it is, I'll deal with it.
Yes, let's try to stump David this morning. All right, Tom. I am meeting many engineers and technical SMEs located in India who are interested in working on US based consulting practices. I am wondering about how to include these people in my quote marketing, even though there is no official relationship. I recognize that this is risky. Can you please share your thoughts and elaborate on potential pitfalls?
Well, I guess I need to understand, Tom, how you're thinking of marketing them and why. Because people, for the most part, the people, the SMEs, are not a selling point in and of themselves. I mean, unless there's truly someone extremely well known. in the industry. So wherever they're located, if they happen to be a recognizable figure in your field, well, then yeah, we have this expert involved. Otherwise, you basically are just saying we've got deep expertise. We've got a pool of experts. And referencing any individual doesn't actually make the biggest difference, other than I suppose there's a name, picture with a name may make it feel a little bit more real for people, but for prospects. But if your prospects are so far down the trust curve that they need to see that name and an individual in order to feel like you're a credible supplier of a solution, I think you have other work to do. So, so give a little bit more background on how you're thinking of including them in the marketing. I think it's really good to use them. I'm just not sure you need to call them out by name, and that calling them out will be super helpful. Again, except in the example I said. Carol, am I missing something on this?
No, you're absolutely spot on with that. The trust pillar is definitely the part that I was thinking about. Was the people that you're talking to, Tom, they should have trust that you know what you're doing and that you're going to be using credible sources and credible people. And so if you don't have that level of trust, then that's what you need to be working on before having to show names,
Yeah.
names and resumes.
Yeah, but and Catherine, you sounds like you had a similar situation. So let us know. I mean, a lot of our clients are using offshore resources, and it's become very, very common. But typically they don't promote the individuals because those individuals aren't known. All right, so let us know if you have questions or if you guys think there's a different way at that. So let's see. Catherine said, if I understand from my own experience, such people and companies are interested in your business development skills, contributing their expertise. Well, yeah, of course. They want you to win business and then they do the work, which is fine. Right. But from a marketing standpoint, they're not helping. And so a lot of questions coming in, which is excellent. Catherine, I'm going to go back to yours. And Carol, I haven't read it. I'll read it. You get to answer it. I have a repeat client that wanted to expand on an existing project. Perfect. They're very stingy and have gone for the smallest possible package we offered. In our experience, they come back with lots of questions on deliverables and requested additional work. What is the language or tools that help to contain the work and ensure client is aware that they will have to pay for any additional work, like a time and material language? All right, so this is we've got a stingy client who likes to practice scope creep. It sounds like. Catherine, is that about right? What do you think, Carol?
Well, you know that our preference is not to go with time and materials. So we won't give you that specific recommendation. However, something that has worked really well in the past when it comes to that specific situation of you have a deliverable and they want a ton of work done to it after you've given it to them is put in the contracts about how many reviews of deliverables will you give them, right? That can be one way, so that you give them a draft, they get one round of feedback, maybe two, making sure that you're really tight on the topics that are going to be addressed in the deliverables, so expectations are really clear. I'm not going to recommend explicit language. Instead, it's because I don't know what's in your contract with your clients, but making sure that the expectations of what they're going to get in those deliverables is really clear. To me, that is the best way to address the scope creep, as well as making it really clear that if you offer this, but if you start hitting some triggers, then there's going to either be an upcharge or something that's going to mean that we need to go back and reevaluate scope and price. David, what do you think?
Yeah, so I'll layer on top of what you said, because I think there are a couple of what you said is true, and a couple of additions that might help, Katrin. One is, of course, you offer alternatives, and by offering alternatives, when they choose the least expensive alternative, you've already said what the cost is of those other alternatives. The alternatives that include the additional work and outcomes and deliverables. And when they say, well, can't we have this? We say, well, yeah, this you're basically trading up to the higher alternative. It's more expensive now than if you had bought it in the first place, but it's absolutely something we can do. For some clients, and it sounds like this might be one of them, it is also worth articulating what's not included in each alternative. Being very clear, here's what you get, and here's what you do not get. And that saves you some pain down the line. When they're saying, can't you just do this? I would love to. Let's just be clear, though. It's an additional cost because, as the contract stated and we discussed, that's not included. So that will help you. Those, I think, what Carol said in those couple pieces should help you out. But let us know, Katrin, what you think, and other folks also, what whether that makes sense or not.
It looks like Todd actually was providing his opinion on our first question around starting without a signed agreement. And he was recommending having some really short language around notice to proceed and promise of payment. So thank you, Todd, for your input on that. Very much so.
Excellent. And perfect. And John asked for the language, Todd. So maybe you can forward that to us, or you can just post it. So that'd be excellent. And there's more follow-ups on this. Katrin, understood, it is usually senior leadership that have a ton of questions when we present, but it's been difficult to engage with the senior people. Well, whoever's signing the contract. I mean, that's why it's alternatives, and that's why you have it specified in the contract. I think. And there's so much coming in. I'm trying to see are there new questions?
Well, Heather also said that she includes a change order in her MSA, some change order language, so they can spin up a change order when their scope changes without a whole new contract having to go in place.
Yeah, so I'm of mixed feelings on change orders because it starts to get you into that time materials world, the real focus on inputs as opposed to outputs, and you definitely don't want to get in a situation where there's lots and lots of change orders. That's quite common in software development, and maybe some of you are closer to that, and we want to stay away from that as much as we can in consulting. It makes the relationship very transactional. So I agree that you can have some language in there, but in general, I think we want to stay away from that. And what we want to have conversations around with our clients is, sure, we can do this extra work. What's the outcome we're trying to get to? And that's additional scope. Now let's talk about that as a contract or a separate contract. Okay. And
then we did have another question come up, but I know that we are getting close to time, so I don't know. Heather had submitted a question around examples of productizing consulting services using AI.
Productizing consulting services using AI. Boy, that's a really big question that with a lot of offshoots. There are, I mean, honestly, a lot of what used to be consulting services has already disappeared because of AI. And there are products, if you will, there are services that are already being delivered. The most prominent perhaps being research and synthesis, and sometimes you can offer an AI-driven research product, which folks are doing. Of course, you're competing with clients' ability to do it themselves. And so that brainstorming, some strategy, a lot of that is already AI is taking over. And I think part of the question, and it's too big a question probably to deal with versus for today, is not just how do we productize, though we can and productize using AI. And frankly, we have a course coming out very soon that has an AI component to it, but it's not AI driven. But the bigger question is, how do you protect your offering, and how do you create an offering that has a moat around it that AI can't cross and creates value, human value? And that is something that's really worth addressing. I'm not sure we answered your question though, Heather. And which is partly what I think John is asking. And just like that. Oh my gosh, you've all asked a lot of questions and you gave input, which is so amazing. And we managed to look at that, 15 minutes, make 15 minutes go by. So thank you for spending 15 minutes with Carol and with me. On the off chance you're not connected with us already, Jaron, look at that. Jaron has posted our LinkedIn profiles. Make sure you're connected with Carol. Make sure you're connected with me. Also, I think some of you don't receive our weekly announcements. Great. Make sure you get them weekly. There's good articles posted every single week. There's just so much information. And so you'll want to get that. And then finally, most of you come here most weeks, but there are a couple new faces, and some of you are watching this on replay. Put Monday Live on your calendars, a recurring appointment, so you can join us and you can chip in like everybody else. And just like that, we've used up our 15 minutes. Thank you for joining us. Have an amazing week. And as we often say, just remember, consulting is about them. It's about your clients. It's about your prospects. So give them value and give them kindness. And we will see you next Monday. Take care, all.
Bye.